This top 10 list is sponsored by Game Toppers. Game Toppers LLC has more than a few solutions that transform almost any normal table into a sturdy and portable gaming table without breaking the bank. Stop by GameToppersLLC.com for everything they currently have to offer you, from game toppers to playmats and more. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Flipside. We're going to be talking about our most anticipated games for the year 2024. I'm Sam.
I'm JT.
And JT was just telling me he has already cheated.
Broke every rule.
Every rule.
Due to my addiction.
What's your addiction?
Games of 2024.
Games of 2024. When I put my list together, there were already 14 pages.
Well, I told you yesterday there were 18.
And there were 18 when he did his. So
18.
400 games got added to that database in the span of like 2 days.
Yeah, but 200 of those line items are Kingdom Death Monster, I think. Something like that. But
14 to 1,800 games already coming out this year, projected at least. Doesn't mean that that's how many will come out, but last year it was to the tune of almost 5,000 games.
yeah,
so
that's crazy.
14 to 1,800 is pretty low.
I wonder how many of those actually have more than like 100 copies made.
I wonder how many of those will never be heard of
made.
ever again in the history of eternity.
Probably 3,000.
Yeah, something like that. Something like that. But anyway, let's get to it.
I was almost going to start at number 1.
Don't do that.
I won't do that. I almost did, though. To note,
a little bit
anything
too
that I've
Flipside-ish.
kickstarted that's coming out in 2024 that I'm supposed to get a copy of, not on the list.
Not on the list.
Well,
He's going to be doing all that stuff on his own.
Mostly.
Yeah.
So. All right. So my number 10. I didn't write down who this was from.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. This is Forges of Ravenshire.
Ooh.
This is where you have your little animal forges, all your different animals you got to forge. Anytime you have a player board that you get to do a bunch of upgrading your forge and things like that, going out and getting resources, making shields and swords and weapons and all kinds of goodies for victory points. But I'm pretty excited about that one. It is got a very interesting mechanic to where I love Raiders of the North Sea, and this has got that same thing. You put a worker out, which is a dice, and you take one back.
Yep.
So you're doing two different things, and you're continually, which is nice because the board's always changing person to person, right?
Yep.
So
that's cool. I actually talked to the designer and the publisher at Origins. He had just a demo copy out there. He was running people through it. He didn't have any prototypes to give away or anything like that. But I totally concur. This looks like a really cool game.
Yep.
It's got a really neat, anthropomorphic animal theme to it. It looks cool.
I hate that word.
I love it. I love saying that word, anthropomorphic. I love saying that word. It's just fun.
Fair enough.
But no, it looks really cool, and I
like
agree
the
with
theme and the graphics. The artwork looks really good.
That sounds good. All right, very cool. My number 10 is a game that honestly, this is the heaviest game on the list, and that's why it's at number 10.
Uh-oh. Can I guess it?
Sure.
Ezra and Nehemiah.
Negative.
Oh, okay.
That was on my previous.
Oh, I didn't know
That was on my previous one that I did on my
I did
live.
not watch the previous one because I didn't want to be
Fireside
influenced.
Yep. No, Ezra and Nehemiah was on there, and I think this game is even heavier than that game. I think Ezra and Nehemiah is a 3.4, 3.5 on the Geek. This comes in at a whopping 3.88.
And it is
Galactic Cruise.
I've never heard of Galactic Cruise.
It's from a small publisher, and I got the heads up on it from Jim when we were at PAX Unplugged. He went by and actually demoed it at the booth, and he said, "You might like this."
Oh.
And I said, "Dude, that looks really stinking heavy." He says, "I know, but it was really fun." So it's got a cool theme of moving people around, sending people on galactic cruises. It's a worker placement game. Let's see some of the other notes that I have here. Worker placement, set collection, open drafting, and multi-use cards. I love multi-use cards. I don't know what it is about it, but if I have cards that I can do multiple things with, I love that. It's really cool. It's got Ian O'Toole's artwork, so that's another huge bonus. The guy's a legend. So it's just got a really neat kind of retro futuristic look. I know you shouldn't really use those words together, but that's kind of what it is. Back in the 50s, what people thought the future was going to look like, that's what it that's the kind of style that the artwork has. So it's got multiple use workers that you're going to be sending around. So the workers, depending on the kind of worker that you send out, they'll do something different than this kind of worker that you send out.
Nice.
So that's another cool thing about it as well. But the heaviness of the game might keep it at bay for me, but I'm interested in it. That's why it's at number 10.
I gotta look it up. All right, my number 9 is probably my first cheat because I don't think it's going to come out in 2024, but I sure as heck hope it does.
Wow.
And that is a game from Shem Phillips called Skara Brae. Skara Brae. Skara Brae is northern Scotland. Obviously, it's a worker placement.
I don't remember seeing this.
Yeah.
Shem Phillips, Skara Brae. I'm going to have to look up how to spell that.
Skarabrae. 2 words.
Okay. I didn't see this one.
And I picked this up because I was listening to the Shem Phillips deal a couple of weeks ago. He's got a new roll and write coming out, like Hadrian's Wall, which I'm not a great roll and write fan, but I would like to try it. In fact, I told him I'd like to play test it. But he's got that one. He's got Storm Raiders coming out, which didn't make my list. It's actually going to kickstart here shortly. But I don't know the mechanics of that one enough. But Skara Brae sounds really cool. Like I said, Northern Scotland has a great story. The ancient Scottish people made mounds, burial mounds, basically massive burial mounds. And later on, their descendants dug into those mounds and kind of made houses out of them to keep themselves warm and things like that. But
sounds a little creepy.
I know, but you're gaining villagers. You happen to feed your people. No, this is not Uwe Rosenberg game, but you have to feed your people every round. You have to clothe them. You have to just keep your society alive and growing. So I'm pretty excited. It's a card drafting system as the main mechanism, but I don't know a ton about it. But I am excited about it.
Interesting. All right, Skara Brae. Man, that's got my interest peaked. All right, my number 9 is it's kind of strange because my interest in this game is the same as my interest in another game that I actually bought sight unseen at Origins, but I haven't played it yet. But I bought it because it was like, oh, cool, family weight game based on history/science. This one's called In the Footsteps of Marie Curie. And I have In the Footsteps of Darwin sitting in there.
Oh, yeah, okay. So this is a follow-up to that one?
It's in the same... I don't know that it's a follow-up. I don't know that the mechanisms are the same or anything like that because I haven't played the In the Footsteps of Darwin yet. Either. But it's a family weight. I think it says it takes like...
Does it teach you history?
About 30 to 45 minutes. And you basically are supposed to help Marie Curie finish her projects so that she wins that double Nobel Prize.
It'll be good for the kids.
Famous for. Yes, exactly. That's exactly what I'm looking forward to. It's a family weight thing that teaches you about something historical, and that's the same reason why I was interested in the Footsteps of Darwin, because most of the time when you have those kinds of themes, the game gets super heavy. Kind of like, like Darwin's Journey. Again, very thematic game, very fun game, but it's super heavy. I wanted something that's family weight level, and so I picked up that one, and I'm gonna pick up this one because it's just...
I wonder how much story and stuff is in it. Like, there's text to read throughout. I would assume there is.
Yeah, I would imagine. I don't know, because if it's a family weight game. It's not going to have a whole lot of that other stuff in it, I would imagine. But it's a family weight game, and it's historically, scientifically inspired. That's what reached out to me about it. I don't know what the weight is, but it says it's a 30-minute game, so it can't be that heavy. Yeah. So midweight family level game in the footsteps of Marie Curie. That's my number 9.
Nice. That's very nice. My number 8 is a game that the cover just going through that whole list is kind of crazy, because you're looking at all the pictures and you're trying to figure out, and you're looking at 600 games that don't have pictures. And I didn't read every single one about every single thing, but I read a ton.
Yes.
But the box cover alone made me jump in and read it. And I think I've heard about this game once before, and it's called Mutagen. So Mutagen.
That's weird. See, this is strange. This is we've entered an alternate universe, because I swear you've taught me how to play Mutagen.
It's not a real game yet.
Swear.
I will.
I swear I've played this game.
He's had a dream about playing Mutagen.
I swear I've played this game.
That's pretty funny.
But I don't know where. I could not put my finger on it, but it's just so... The box cover was so familiar to me.
Yeah, it's really, really pretty art.
Yeah.
It's a customizable worker placement game. So you're customizing your workers, so you're making them stronger. It kind of gives me that, it's not Chimera Station. Is that what it's called? Where you're making the workers but with different parts and pieces, and they do different things. But I think you're doing it more on your board. But you're customizing your workers. You're customizing your airship, which is... your personal player board. You get to customize that as well. You're also customizing the worker placement spots out on the board, so they do different things, and at least that's what it sounds like.
Wow.
But it's just a beautiful game. Customizable workers sounds fun. I like worker placement. I'm excited to try it.
Man, that's throwing me for a loop, dude.
Well, as soon as it pops out, I'll buy it. We'll find it, and we'll make it true.
I'll make it true.
Yeah, my number 8 is called Mutagen.
All right, my number 8 is... Dadgummit, I done lost my place. Need to keep this open. I'm just trying to keep you from seeing it.
No, I'm not going to read it. I'll try.
You're not going to read it?
I'll try not to look your dirty.
This is a 15-minute card game.
Oh, no.
Little, tiny card game. But I think it's going to be a cool palate cleanser because it's Viking-themed. It's called Odin.
Odin?
Yes, Odin. O-D-I-N. Just Odin, like the name of the Allfather. And... So basically what you're doing with this, you have a hand of cards, and the point of the game is to get rid of your hand of cards first so that you don't score points, and then you play until somebody has 15 points, and then whoever has the least amount of points is the winner. But the cool thing about it is that when you play your cards, instead of adding the values together, they make a value together. So if you play a 3 first and then a 6, it's a 36. But if you play a 6 first and then a 3, it's a 63. And you're trying to go above... the person that played
game, right? You're trying to get higher numbers and continue to move.
But no. It's like you're trying
a ladder climbing game. Then.
Yes, it is a ladder climbing game. And so from what I read of the description, it had like very little on it, but it feels like one of those games that you can just pop out and play real quick in between games, and it'll be really fun.
How's the artwork?
Artwork is okay. The artwork is not what pulled me in. I'll put it that way. I just thought that the gameplay sounded interesting, and it's a palate cleanser, and I'm always on the lookout for palate cleansers. So that's my number 8, Odin. Just a quick 15-minute card game.
Nice. My number 7. I don't know very much about it all, but I am excited for it. I've seen the cover, I've seen a couple of things, but it's a Steffenfeld game, which I actually didn't know was a Steffenfeld game until I'd already looked at it. I already put it in my wish list previously, but then I found out it was a Steffenfeld game who I love. But it's called Civolution, and you are a...
That's a weird mashup.
It's a Civolution. Cool. So you are a deity trying to make your civilization that you rule over the best civilization in the game.
Yeah.
So it's kind of following, you're creating this civilization, but you're also doing the evolution, so it's a longer path. Is that kind of thing.
I was wondering if it was going to be something like you're trying to set up the civilization and they're revolting, so the revolution.
No, not civil revolution.
Cool.
No.
So it's your civilization is evolving.
Evolving, cool. Yep. And it's supposed to be a medium-heavy Euro, which is right up my alley.
Sure.
With dice selection and tech trees. And that's really all I know about it. But I'm pretty excited. To give it a shot.
That sounds like an interesting concept. Yeah, that sounds like an interesting thing.
Especially since you're looking at it from like a god's perspective. So I don't know how you're going to be able to affect your tech and your civilization. It's kind of a different perspective. So
yeah, it is. Yeah, the point of perspective changes, so that's going to be a fresh look at those mechanisms that are involved.
Yeah,
that's cool. All right, my number 7 is a game called Windmill Valley. Windmill Valley. This is going to be coming from Boards and Dice. They're usually on the heavier side of things, but they have some pretty cool mid-weighters as well. I think one of them that Chinese, the Terracotta Army, I think was Board and Dice.
Yeah, probably.
And
probably.
Maybe not. I can't remember. I get all the companies mixed up.
Me too.
I'm after playing Kelte, my desire to play more Rondel games has renewed, and that's what popped out on this one. It's a Rondel game. But I think from the pictures, I think each player has their own Rondel. Because each player has this little thing. They have their own player board.
Like a windmill?
But then they also... It's like the it's like the sprockets of the windmill that turn the windmill around. That's what they have on their thing. And I think that's your Rondel. And everybody has their own little thing.
Yeah,
and I'm like, wow, that looks really interesting. Components and table appeals is really what kind of made this pop for me. I don't know I didn't recognize the name of the artist, but they did a really good job on the box cover. The board and the different components looks a little bit more muted, but I can't tell if that's because it was a prototype or not.
Trying to picture the box cover. I think I read
had a whole bunch of like
stuff.
little red tulips over, and it had a bunch of windmills all the way in the background. But
they were like in yellows and greens, or no? I don't remember. It's all good.
Yeah, something like that. But man, it just looked very interesting. Nice. Rondel, variable player powers, multi-use cards again. Network and route building. These are all things that I really enjoy playing, and I like the theme. It's off the beaten path, so I'm really looking forward to this one. It's called Windmill Valley, my number 7.
Nice. My number 6, and this was 100% completely unintentional, and that's mostly because I didn't know Civolution was a Stefan Feld game, but my number 6 is another Stefan Feld game called Nassau. In Nassau, you are pirates. Pirates of the Caribbean, basically, Stefan Feld. Beginning the first phase, you're collecting your crew, your equipment, your dogs, your cats, your monkeys, whatever else you want to put on your ship. And then the second phase, you're taking your ship out and doing, adventures and piratey things and so it's going to be awesome.
Adventure-y, piratey things. I'm pretty excited about that. Is it Caribbean or Caribbean?
Both.
It's both?
It's
serious?
Sure.
You don't know that.
Why can't it be both?
I don't know. I just think there should be one correct, and there's probably a correct pronunciation, and then there is an accepted pronunciation.
No, it's Caribbean.
It's Caribbean. My number 6 is very close to that.
Nice.
In theme. It's called Milkman. It's not like that at all, actually.
Milkman?
Yes, it's called Milkman.
Okay.
And what do you think? What kind of game do you think it is? Just from the name, Milkman.
Pick up and deliver.
That's exactly what it is. Oh, nice. When is it a pick up and deliver? What year?
1950s.
That is correct. And this is why it pulled me to it, because I was like, how many games are you a milkman? No, you got your little milk truck, bro.
Okay.
You got your milk truck, and you got to deliver it to your neighborhoods, and you get points and all that kind of stuff.
I want to see deluxe components.
But there are deluxe components. There's like little cow meeples, and there are little milk bottles, and all that kind of stuff. But here's the thing. Check this out. It's a dice rolling game. Set collection, dice rolling, and pick up and deliver. Those are the things. But you can manipulate the dice by using money that you're making.
Does any game not have set collection? Like every game has set collection in some sort, almost.
Not
all of them.
Might be recent. That might be a recent development because it's such a popular mechanism.
Very popular.
There used to be a time where I don't think it was very widely used.
Yeah, I never heard of Milkman, but
Milkman, the theme is what reached out to me at the very beginning because it was so unique. I like the 1950s retro style of it.
Yeah.
It just looks like an interesting game to me, and
nice.
So looking
Who's
forward
the
to that
designer?
one.
Did you have the designer?
Know.
Okay.
I didn't write that stuff down. I apologize.
No
but
worries.
it's a mid-weight, 30 to 60 minute game. Didn't have the weight on it though. So, but 30 to 60 minutes, you're looking at probably mid-weight. I'd say a 2. I would probably say a 2.5 at the most.
Might be pretty darn fun.
But that's Milkman, my number 6.
Not that we love pick up and deliver a ton, but it might be pretty fun.
Sure. Yeah, I get you.
Okay. My number 5 is, I think I broke the rules already, but my number 5 is definitely a break of the rules. My number 5 is a game that I kickstarted, and the only reason I put it on here because I don't think it should have been a Kickstarter game. That's a whole nother conversation. But this is called Chaos Cove.
Could you say that about any Kickstarter game?
You could say that about some Kickstarter games.
I would say
some
most
Kickstarter. Yeah, there's a lot of Kickstarter. There's a lot of games that shouldn't go to Kickstarter.
Yeah.
But there's a balance, right? The big, fantastic ones, they go to Kickstarter because
there's no way to
all
sell
of
it
the
retail.
That's exactly right. There's no way to sell it retail and get it mass marketed.
Yeah, you can't.
With all of its pieces.
Nobody's going to walk into a store and pay $400.
But
for
this one, honestly, I would love to have seen, and obviously, I'm not a designer and not a producer of games, but this is a game that if you were to show up at Gen Con and there was a pile of this game, it would sell like wildfire. But it didn't do very well in Kickstarter, and I'm excited to get it. But it's called Chaos Cove. It's a Martin Wallace game.
Yeah.
It's a worker placement game where there's 16 different workers. And you're going to get to play all of those different workers. Each of you is going to have like 4 workers at a time that you're going to have to pick from. So your selection of 4 workers will be different than everybody else's selection of 4 workers during a turn. But you're going out, you're collecting resources, you're attacking forts. It's another pirate-themed game. You're attacking forts, and I think you're actually defending against pirates or attacking ships. But it's all about getting points. But it's really this mechanism of you have these 4 workers that have their own specific abilities. And next round, you get a different 4 workers with a different set of abilities. And it just sounds really cool.
I thought this was
board.
I thought this was already out. That's why I didn't.
No.
I didn't add it because this was on my. I want to say for Gen Con.
Yeah.
This was on my Gen Con list.
But if this was a game that just popped out of nowhere,
sure,
and somebody said, "Here's these games, and they're coming
especially
to
with
retail,"
Martin Wallace's name on it.
Man,
yeah,
I think it would have done so much better. And I hope it does great. I hope people love it, and then
Retail
obviously
blows up.
It can blow up. But
retail can blow up. Yep.
My number 5 is Chaos Cove, and I really hope it does well.
Very cool. Yeah, Martin Wallace, that's definitely one that in the past, I've had it on my list of most anticipated games for the conventions that they were being shown at. Yeah. So, yeah, absolutely. Chaos Cove, I'm down for playing that. Martin Wallace is the OG, man. He's good. All right, my number 5. My number 5 is a kids game. But I'm really wondering how much of a kids game this is going to be.
Shrek the board game.
No, it is not Shrek the board game. Flashback Lucy. Did you see this one?
No. If I did, I went, nah. I'm just kidding.
You probably said, kids game? Trash. All right, so
I didn't sort it that way.
It's labeled as a kids game. It is a narrative choice storytelling game, but it's also cooperative. And the theme sounds really interesting. Basically, what you're doing is you're going back into if I'm remembering it correctly. Now I'm like super second
Life
guessing
of
myself.
Lucille Ball.
No, it's not Lucille Ball. It's just it's a kid's it's a kid's brain.
I got you.
And you're going back in flashbacks, but it's creepy and it's supposed to be scary, and you're supposed to figure out all of these things and piece the story together in order to win the game. And I don't know exactly how all of that's going to go about, but it looked really interesting, and I liked the it had not really a final girl, but the horror aspect. I'm usually not a big horror.
Did you play Mice and Mystics with your kids, or
not with my kids? No.
Stuffed Fables.
Nope. I did play Mice and Mystics a few times when it first came out. Yeah. So I enjoyed it, but I didn't really get.
Yeah, it was a little too long for what it was. But that just sounds like one of those games. I'm curious if it's that same kind of storybook.
It's saying it's like 30 minutes. It's like 30 minutes, and it does have a lot of cards in the game as well. So it just looks really interesting to me. It looks really
you don't have
like
any kids that young.
No, I don't. But the kids that I do have, I've got one kid that will sit down and play a 3-hour game, and I've got two other kids that would would not sit down and play a 3-hour game. So this though sounds like something that all three of them will sit down and play, which is why I'm really interested in it. Nice. I think the theme will draw them in as well, because they're all kind of loosely interested in horror, spooky type stuff. So looking forward to that one. Flashback Lucy, my number 5.
Nice. My number 4 is probably going to be on a lot of people's lists this year. And just because of what it is, but we got an email a week ago or so that said Wingspan is coming out from Stonemaier Games. And I like Wingspan a lot. I've played it a ton. I play it solo on the computer when I just sit down. It's number 4.
4?
Because Wingspan is not my favorite game, right? Gotcha. Wingspan's a little too light. I'm hoping that this just takes the next step. Like, I'm hoping this is like a 0.5 more. No, I don't want it too crazy because I want to be able to play it with anybody. But I'm hoping it just raises that complexity just a little bit, puts a little bit more mechanics in it. I know you're now having to excavate out caves for your dragons to go into instead of just spending, eggs. Besides that, it's got little black speckled eggs. Yeah. But yeah, I'm pretty excited about this.
There's multiple colored.
Yeah, there's multiple colors, but the black speckled ones are the cool ones. No. Everybody, I love Wingspan. I really, it's just a game you can play with anybody, and it's a nice, relaxing. I'm hoping this is the next step up. I love dragons. I love the artwork. It looks gorgeous. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yep. There were a few more of the like baby-ish dragons in there, and I know
in the pictures,
in the pictures
than what
I wanted,
but
I
agree.
I knew this was going to be on your list. I just did. I thought it would be higher. I thought it would be higher.
It's pretty hard when you see what the rest of my list is.
Yeah, I got you. All right, my number 4 is a all-in-one box edition for a game that I've always enjoyed, and that is Santorini, the Pantheon edition. Yeah. And I don't own everything for Santorini, so that's one reason why I want to pick this one up, so that I can get everything in the same package with the same artwork and all that other kind of stuff, same production
quality,
little cracked
and buildings, and
all that kind of stuff. Little cracked buildings, but one of the main things that I was like, oh, I really want this. The board has raised edges on the grid, so you can just place it and it won't shift around.
On the whole grid.
Oh, yes the whole grid. And I'm like, yes, I love that. That's one of the main things. I know it's kind of a stupid reason for wanting to buy a game.
It's very good, actually.
But, man, that's one of the things that used to just bug me is that the buildings on Santorini would flip around, kind of shift around
a little bit.
So that's the one thing. That's really the main thing that pulled me into this. I love Santorini, and I don't own everything for it, and I really enjoy that having that raised grid on the playboard. So that's my number 4, Santorini Pantheon Edition.
That's a really cool pick. My number 3 is probably breaking another rule.
course it is.
Because my number, I told you I broke every rule.
This is weird. I'm usually the one breaking the rules. What is wrong?
And I actually went back and I got like 4 more, just so you know. So I put like 26 on the list, and then but this one's breaking another rule. I'm sure of it. But this is called Reavers of Midgard, Gods and Prophets. This is the expansion that we've been waiting for Reavers of Midgard.
Okay.
I know it's an expansion, not a game.
I didn't put any expansions on my list.
I know.
Yeah.
I didn't figure.
That's the thing.
But it adds in. I took all of my Kickstarter stuff out, so I figured I could slide an expansion maybe in. But it adds gods. You know, it's an expansion. There's more stuff. Yep. It adds gods that can mess with you and block spots and do things like this. So
we gotta play Reavers again.
I love Reavers. So I'm really looking forward to the expansion. More Reavers is good.
Maybe we'll play it on the cruise.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Let's do that.
Yeah,
let's do that. I think so.
Absolutely. I love Reavers. I'm looking forward to the expansion.
My number 3 is another game that I've really enjoyed, and this is another everything in one box deluxe edition or new edition of a game that's been out there for a long time. But it's a little bit more than that because the designers Bruno Cathala and Ludovic Maublanc have actually gone in and reworked some of the mechanisms, made it a little bit smoother. Cyclades, the Legendary Edition. My goodness, this game looks amazing.
Yeah, it looks amazing.
It looks amazing. It's already a game that I know I enjoy, but they have really pulled out all the stops on this one. The artwork is amazing. The miniatures look amazing. They have amazing sculpts. The 3D sculpts that they have up on the Geek are just phenomenal. I want to get my hands on this a lot. Sweet. I mean a lot.
Well, I'm glad you want to get your hands on it because I want to play it. Yeah, it's gorgeous. Absolutely.
So that is my Cyclades, my number 3, Legendary Edition.
Absolutely. My number 2 is probably no surprise to anybody that has seen anything that we do or say or whatever else. My number 2 is another Shem Phillips game. It is the 3rd in the South Tigris series, Inventors of the South Tigris.
Yep.
And Inventors, following the theme, it's all dice placement in this series, or it's about dice placement in the series, but following this theme, you are all inventors, and the inventions are going to go on a conveyor belt sort of mechanism. So you're trying to
Card river almost?
Yeah, you're trying to first, and everybody gets to work on them, right? So if you think of the invention, then maybe I can move it into, the theory stage or the production stage or whatever else. But you're trying to get the invention from one end to actually being invented so it'll score.
Wow.
But I think everybody is going to have input on that and be able to work on all those different inventions. So, yeah, it's really cool. It's really, I don't know. But
wow.
Their brains are burning.
Shem Phillips is he's next level, man.
Next level. So I'm really excited about this one. I'm really excited to see how that production.
Is it another S.J. McDonald,
yes.
Shem Phillips collab? Okay.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. And this will be it'll probably kickstart in a month, and then it'll come out to us in September.
Okay.
So type of thing.
Sounds good. That was your what? Number
2.
2?
All right. 2.
Just want to make sure we're on the same page here. All right. Do you have Wayfarers of the South Tigers? I haven't played that one. I want to play that one.
We do need to
that
play
sounds
that
more interesting than the other one did. Scholars.
I think you'll like Wayfarers more than Scholars.
It looked like I would.
Yeah.
But all right, cool. My number 2 has already been mentioned. It's our only crossover.
Nice.
So far.
We're
still number 1. You never know.
My number 1's not going to be a crossover. Sorry. I wouldn't mind if it was.
Wyrmspan.
Yes.
Wyrmspan is definitely my number 2. I've always enjoyed Wingspan, but the theme of birds
that's what Mel
never
said.
hooked me.
That's exactly what Mel said.
Never hooked me. I was like, okay, sure, I'll play a game about birds.
Mm-hmm.
Not in my wheelhouse. But dragons, my friend, yes. That is where I will step on board. This is one of the things, my oldest son, Michael, he is definitely an Ameritrash player. He loves Ameritrash games. And Euro games, he's usually like, whatever. Flamecraft, he actually enjoyed. So and Wingspan, despite its theme, he loved playing Wingspan. And so I know Wyrmspan is just going to grab a hold of him.
Yeah.
So that's one of the reasons why I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, everything that JT said about it, and all of the little eggs and how they look, they're spotted and all that kind of stuff.
My exact conversation with Melissa was, guess what? They just made a game called Wyrmspan, and as a successor to Wingspan. And I says, you know why they did that? And she says, why? No, she said, do you know why you do that? I want to break the story up. And I said, for me. And she says, no, for me. Because she bounced off a Wingspan.
Right.
It's too light for her.
Yeah.
But the dragon theme, and hopefully getting a little bit more, she's ready to.
Here's my thing. I liked Century Spice Road. Mm-hmm. I loved Century Golem Edition.
100%.
It's the same thing.
Yep.
You put a different theme that works.
Well, you put crystals instead of cubes.
Yeah, exactly. That.
Yeah,
but on top
big.
of that, it's a cool looking theme too, because all of the artwork changed. It's basically the same game, and I don't know that Wyrmspan is going to be basically the same. I'm sure they'll make some differences.
Sure.
And there already are with you having to kind of excavate your cave and all that kind of stuff. But it's basically the same idea, just with different artwork and different components. And it's the interest level for this is the same as it was for me between Century Spice Road and Century Golem.
Yeah.
So that's my number 2.
100%.
Wyrmspan came out of nowhere.
It did. It came out of nowhere. I like those games that come out of nowhere.
Yes.
I like them a lot.
Yep.
My number 1 is
Numero uno.
another cheat. And I'm sorry.
Another cheat.
I could not. This is my number 1 for a reason. And really,
Is it an expansion?
It is an expansion. You know what the expansion is for?
Vincent Dutrait artwork?
Maybe.
What is it for?
It's Heat, Heavy Rain.
I knew it.
Heat, Heavy Rain. Couple more tracks. Another car for a 7th player. More cards for variability in your cars.
Here's my question. Mm-hmm. They only put one more car in it.
Because they have to have one more car for the next expansion.
Exactly.
They got 8 spots in the freaking
That's right.
deal for a reason, so they can put out 2 expansions.
Yep.
And call it a triumvirate of games.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep,
My
I get
number
it.
1
That's
is
exactly
Heat,
what I said, too.
and it's such a great game.
I completely agree with that. I
more.
did not include any expansions on my top 10.
I know.
But this was in my 11 to 22 that I did in the live fireside chat last week. So I'm definitely looking forward to this one as well for much the same reasons. You have a great construct of a game, and just adding more tracks to it and adding more players to it, adding more cards, more card abilities and all that kind of stuff.
Instead, they got card abilities where you can take heat right from your discard pile and put it back on your engine.
Wonder what they called that.
I don't know, but
like popping the clutch or something. I don't know. That sounds interesting. Yeah, I'm totally on board with this one as well. Super. You knew it was going to happen when they only had 6, but they had 8 places for cars. So I get it, but yeah, looking forward to this one as well.
Thinking ahead.
All right, my number 1 is a game that is going to be put out by Portal Games. And one of the notes that I wrote down here was simply trust Ignacy.
Well, there you go. That works.
Trust Ignacy. This one is called Thorgal, the board game. It is a narrative description storyboard game. Yeah. And the reason I say that is because the game is going to come with, I believe it said 9 different stories or scenarios, and each scenario will have its own storybook map that you're going to play. Kind of like, it definitely had some of those vibes of a lot of Red Ravens titles like Near and Far and Above and Below and all that kind of stuff.
I watched the Kickstarter on this one pretty hard. I didn't pick it up mostly because I have so many big narrative campaign games. I didn't pick this one up, but
I don't have a whole lot of them, and this one is a Viking themed one. Yep. So I really have been in the hunt for a Viking themed narrative storytelling game, and this one is right there. Yeah. It also has pattern building in it, which I thought was interesting because there are some cards in there, and there's also some deck building in there as well, which again, I don't know how it's all going to work out, but all of the pictures. I love the
But
comic.
it is campaign, right? It's not like scenario based.
Well, it's
easier to be
again.
scenario.
It has that mechanism in there where it says scenario, campaign, whatever. Thing in it.
It's easier to be scenario based with a deck builder. Campaign based with a deck builder is harder because if you're maintaining that deck,
carry it over. Well, there is character development in the game.
Sure.
I did read that there is character development in the game, so it probably is kind of like what it says. But again, that's kind of why I put down those 2 words: trust Ignacy.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how it's going to work out, but Ignacy is at the helm, or at least his company is at the helm. He's not one of the designers.
I hope it's good.
So he usually doesn't disappoint. You're probably not going to like everything he puts out, but he usually doesn't disappoint. So that is that. Map book is the board. Love that. Pattern building, scenario driven, variable player powers, and it's cooperative. All those converged upon me likey.
Nice. So I did.
Other games, I broke the rules on my 11 through 22.
Yeah.
Like Ezra Nehemiah was on that. Stone Spine Architects, though, that's a Kickstarter that I backed. I think you backed it as well.
Yep.
Charcuterie, the board game, I backed it. I don't think you like that one as much.
It's fine.
Luthier, or Luthier. Luthier is a game, Vincent Dutrait artwork, but it's about, back in, the heyday when Mozart was running around and all that kind of stuff, where you're making instruments.
Oh, really?
Making instruments. You're crafting instruments. So I thought that was pretty cool. 4 Horsemen.
Yeah.
Tales of the Arthurian Knights. Clans of Midgard. Little card game in the same universe as Reavers. Unmatched Sun's Origin. They come out with some legendary Japanese warriors. 2 of them.
I'm not a huge fan of Unmatched, but Unmatched Witcher's coming out. And I might just have to buy it just to get the Witcher one. But, Witcher's this year, I'm pretty sure.
They're coming out with another Ticket to Ride Paris. They're coming out with another Ticket to Shut
up. That's too bad.
Catan New Energies. Did you see that one?
No.
Oh, it looks pretty cool. I'm not a huge Catan person at all. I own 1 copy of Catan. It's Catan Geographies Germany.
Yep.
But Catan New Energies, you're trying to upgrade your civilization from the old way to generate power to the new way. So it's like if Catan and Power Grid had a baby.
Oh.
That's what it looks like to me. But each player has their own little player board. Where you're trying to do these different things with the old energies and the new energies. It looks interesting.
Huh.
So that
cool.
got and then Heat Heavy Rain was on there as well.
Yep.
So yeah, a lot of cool stuff that's coming out this year, and this is just the beginning. Yeah, go ahead.
Just a really quick one. I won't get in the way, but as far as Kickstarters go, I'm surprised you didn't have one of these on there. But as far as Kickstarters go, the ones I'm super excited about, Andromeda's Edge, which is the space theme or space version of Dwellings of Eldervale, which is, I love that game.
Yeah.
But I'm surprised Skyrise didn't make your list. Skyrise is a little building spatial puzzle in a city. You're trying to build your buildings in, but you have to do it in a bidding mechanism. So if I put down a 10 building here and you put down a 25 building next to me, and then somebody else puts down, whoever has the highest building gets to keep their building in that spot and flip it over. And then the bidding starts again. So you're bidding across this map. But really beautiful production.
I'll look into it.
Dragon Eclipse. And Dragon Eclipse is a CMON game. Big, massive, beautiful. It's kind of like Pokemon, the board game, except for with dragons and different creatures. So I'm getting that for...
You're trying to collect?
You're trying to collect all these different creatures. I'm getting that for my son, really, but that one's exciting. And then Elder Scrolls Betrayal of the Second Era. That is the Too Many Bones version of Elder Scrolls, where you're playing through actual Elder Scrolls. And then as far as games that weren't on there, Storm Raiders, I talked about Lashem Phillips. I just don't know much about it. It's got kind of a Mad Max area
Aren't they also
control.
doing a? I read somewhere they were doing a revamp of
Shipwrights. Yep.
Of the North Sea.
Yep, they are.
Okay.
They're doing one, I can't remember if Shipwrights or the other one. There's 2 North Sea ones, Shipwrights and Explorers. I think Shipwrights is the one they're doing. It's a card drafting game. Yeah.
It was like the one from that original trio that got the least love.
And I didn't write all the stuff on all these other ones. Clans and Glory. Looks like a small-time publisher. It's about, Scottish clans and trying to be the strongest. That one's one that I'm going to look into. God of War is coming out this year, but really it's going to come out as a Kickstarter this year. And, following the newer games.
Oh.
And it's going to be beautiful with Atreus and all that stuff. But it's not going to come out till next year. It's not going to hit.
It's just kickstarting this year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Devil's Dice. Devil's Dice sounded really interesting. It's kind of a liar's dice on steroids, where you have different dice in the center, and you have your dice. And depending on what you do with your dice, you can actually manipulate the dice in the center or steal them. So kind of a step up on Liar's Dice. And then Critter Kitchen, Ezra and Nehemiah. Ezra and Nehemiah, I have to admit, I love Shem Phillips games. There is a point where this one looks, I don't want to say that wrong, but it looks dry and it looks extremely heavy.
I looked at
and I have a hard time getting extremely heavy games played with my game groups.
Believe me, I'm interested in it just
I'm
because
very
of the
interested
theme.
in it. But
and the designer, I know you're interested because of the designer, but I look at that and my brain starts going, ow.
I look at that and my brain starts going, ow.
It's so
sometimes.
big.
I'm not sure. I haven't taken in the whole thing, but I hope it's really good. But Space-Based Genesis, a new Space-Based expansion coming out. That's pretty exciting. Gaia Project, a new Gaia Project, the Lost Fleet expansion coming out. So I'm looking forward to that one. And if I were going to go to a big game reprint, I'm sorry. If I were going to go to a big game reprint like you did, not reprint because you went to big box in a couple of games, but I would go with Clans of Caledonia. That is supposed to be coming out with a new reprint and a new big, man, if we get a big, beautiful Clans of Caledonia with expansions, I'm really hoping that one comes out. And the last one on my list was Merchant's Cove Mastercraft. Merchant's Cove, I haven't taken the jump on yet. The Merchant's Cove is an older game where you're trying to influence these boats coming in with these different colored meeples and workers, or meeples or people, and depending on what they come in, you're going to sell your goods. But every person's player is asymmetric in the gameplay of what you do. One person will have be a bag builder, the other person will be like a mini potion explosion, the other person... Like the way your character makes their goods is completely different than everybody else.
Wow.
So that one's one. Yeah, I've never pulled the trigger on, but I really want to try it.
That sounds cool.
And Mastercraft looks really like it ties it all together. So,
man,
lots of stuff.
So much stuff coming out. It's like drinking from the fire hose. So it'll be cool though. See how the year plays out, because I'm sure. By the time we get to the end of it, it's going to be another 50 pages, 50 pages on the geek.
Sure.
So I don't know. I don't know how the industry is going to be able to continue doing this, but
they're doing it.
The good part is that there's some, and this is something we talked about on the fireside. There's going to be something for everybody.
Sure.
When you have this much stuff coming out, not all of it's going to be super popular, but everybody's got something that they can latch onto.
But the hardest thing there is finding it, for one.
Yep, you got to weed through all of it.
Two, if you're the person that's producing the game, getting it to the right people.
Yep.
That's pretty tough.
Yep. I do want to take a few moments and just thank our sponsor, Game Toppers. We are playing on a Holmes. This is a 3x6 Game Topper, and then we have the Ryan Laukat Playmat here on top of it. Really great stuff. Great people as well. If you're at all interested in upgrading your table experience, go check their stuff out. GameToppersLLC.com, and they'll treat you right, I promise. And so, with that being said, we're going to get on out of here. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.
Welcome to 2024.
Welcome to the future. We'll see you guys and gals on Flipside.
Later.
Take care.